Okay, perfect, Tina. Thank you so very much. And thank you everyone for being here. And sorry, we've had a few little tech glitches because as Tina said, I'm certainly a tech novice, but I'm very happy to be here. And I'm representing a wonderful organization, the Community Seed Exchange. We're located in Sebastopol, California, which is in Sonoma County, north of San Francisco. It's in the ancestral homelands of the Coast Miwok and Southern Pomo peoples. And we live in a Mediterranean climate. And of course, we're learning, as everyone is, how to adapt as climate becomes more intense and more diverse. Next slide, please. So something that we feel is very unique about our organization is the fact that not only are we a seed library, but we're also a seed garden. So we grow over 200 different varieties of different plants. So in the photo there, you can see some of the things that we grow, some of the many things that we grow. And one of the things that has always been a focus is to grow really nutrient dense foods. So you can see the Oaxacan green dent corn, which is a type of flour corn. You can see the tiger's eye beans, which are a type of dry soup bean. And of course, we grow all kinds of veggies and grains and greens and all the good stuff. Next slide. So we're a group of folks who are all volunteers. It's amazing how much we're able to accomplish with a wonderful group of people and the generosity of our community. You can see that we're mostly a bunch of white folks, a lot of women, a lot of people middle-aged, and we're open and inclusive, and we're always very happy when someone under the age of 50 shows up to help us. That's always kind of like one of our little jokes. It's like, yay, somebody young is here. Next slide. So this project started before I became involved. I've been involved since 2017, and this project is long established and came out of something that was called Transition Sebastopol, which was a group of folks back in 2009 that were starting to realize, hey, the world's changing. Peak oil is happening. The climate is changing. You know, things are going to get a little dicey. And so we need to start to look at how we can create more localized systems, more resilient systems, things that are appropriate for where we are. And that included food systems. And of course, as we know, as seed savers and seed lovers, at the heart of that is seed security. Next slide. So the original founders were Sarah McCammett and Laurel and a man named Phil. And hopefully some of you went to Sarah's earlier session about how to grow a seed garden. Sarah and Laurel are still involved in the organization, very much so. I've never met Phil. Apparently he passed on. And they started just at a school garden where Laurel was the school gardener. And, you know, this thing that Sarah told me about storing the seeds in the storage shed at the garden was so inspiring to me, that such humble beginnings can start such amazing work. And so they were able to save some of Sarah's seeds and be able to distribute to the community. Next slide. So in 2010, Sarah, who is a very resourceful and wonderful woman, found St. Stephen's Church where they had a field, and she sort of decided, well, you know what, I'm going to go ask them and see if they want to have a seed garden in this field. And so the church said, yeah, okay, I guess we can do this, but they had other plans to use the space, but they decided that, yeah, we could do this on a year-to-year basis. And what Sarah told me was the idea of being able to store the seeds in a room in the church was just like this huge advance, you know. So from bringing crates of seeds out of a storage shed in a garden to be able to actually have a room where the seeds were kept was a giant move in the right direction. Next slide. So the year-to-year deal went on until 2016, until finally the church said, okay, you can have a permanent garden here. And so that was when more permanent beds were put in. You can see the Boy Scouts helping. So again, just a real community effort. Next slide. So you can kind of get a little bit of the scale of it here, and the areas that are covered with straw are the sort of row crop areas where we grow the corn and squash and tomatoes and peppers and sunflowers and all kinds of things. And you can see the beds where we grow more of the beets and carrots and greens. So you can kind of get an idea. Next slide. And of course, we save the seeds. This is one photo of part of the seed library. So it's set up pretty much into kind of 5 basic groups. You can see the grains, lettuce and salad greens, veggies, beans, and then the herbs and flowers. We've tried to kind of standardize things as time has gone on. So we're mostly trying to have everything in the pint and quart-sized jars. Next slide. And one great advance has been the labeling system. This is something that we've really developed, especially with the seed that we grow ourselves. So the different categories have different colors. So you can see the flower seeds on the right have the pink. So we have the Latin names, the year it was grown, a description of it, of what the plant is and how long it takes to grow. And then the other piece of information that is really important to us is the idea of the population size and the vigor and the health of the seed. So having these detailed labels has really helped us, because this is the seed that we're cultivating ourselves. This is the seed that's adapting with us. And so we're really able to offer almost all of our seed from what we have grown ourselves. You can see there's some nice, looks like onion seeds that we're cleaning on the left-hand side there. Next slide. So obviously we need to take inventory once a year. So we go in, few of us go in and record how much we have in stock. And then when people donate seed to us, we try to get as much information as we possibly can, again, based kind of on our criteria in terms of where was it grown, what was the population size, how much sun does it need, how much water does it need, trying to get as many details as we can from folks. And we do have a few folks that we know and that we have a good relationship with, that we sort of consider to be kind of reliable growers. So we kind of trust the seeds that they provide us. And then we're also, we have like a sign out sheet where folks can just kind of write down what they're taking. And that's not like hard and fast. It's not like we're super specific with that, but it just gives us a general information of what we know that people want to take and that what we need to make sure we have more of. Next slide. We also, in addition to saving seeds, we also saved some data. So for 3 years, we were part of the research study by Daniela Soleri, and I know she's part of this summit too, because I saw her the other night on the tech Zoom meeting. So we were one of 6 sites to grow these particular types of kidney beans, to do some testing to see if the seeds are adapting to the different climates. And so the seeds were planted everywhere from north of us in Shasta down all the way to Southern California. So we were excited to hear if in fact our seeds did adapt to our local area. Next slide. So these are the picture of the kidney bean seeds, and Electra had to very carefully coordinate this with Daniela, and so we affectionately refer to these beans as Daniela's beans. And Electra would package up 3 pods from each plant each year to send as part of the research. Next slide. So we obviously share the seeds with the community, and I would say that one of the things that has been successful, and again, this is, a lot of this is pre-pandemic and post-pandemic now, But we have regular hours. So we're at the Seed Library every Wednesday afternoon. So we're working in the garden, and the library is also available for people to come and have seed. And then also on the fourth Saturday of every month from 9 to 12. So we have sort of a work party in the garden where folks are working, and then we are able to distribute seed to people as they're coming then. So we're able to reach a lot of folks in that way. Next slide. So not only do we have the seeds available at the Seed Library, but we're also distributing seeds through the public libraries. We have 2 public libraries that we're servicing now. We give seeds to the School Garden Network. We're giving seeds to home gardeners at a local Grange produce exchange. And in the past, we have definitely participated in a seed swap. There was even some conversation about this year, like, well, do we want to do the seed swap again? So I imagine in the future, we'll be participating in the seed swaps again. Next slide. I just have to give a big shout out to Laurel, who really pivoted during the pandemic. She was so impressive in terms of being able to organize and distribute 4,000 packages of seed to our community in the first year of the pandemic. I mean, it was just amazing how quickly she was able to create an online order form and then have this whole system where she got people to help her package the seeds and get it out into the community. It was truly heroic. And we also did the second year of the pandemic. And then last year we started getting things out into the public libraries. Next slide. So we also like to share the knowledge, because we have a huge amount of knowledge within our group of people. And so it's always been part of the mission to educate people. So on the fourth Saturday of every month, a free class is offered from 10 to noon. And so that's when we have our big work parties. Next slide. So we're super excited because we're just getting ready to relaunch the classes for the first time since 2019. So in a couple of weeks, we'll be having like our first full, fourth Saturday of the month event again. So we're just really looking forward to kind of getting back to many of the things that we did in the past, including educating people about how to grow great garlic, how to process your seeds, how to encourage more pollinators. Next slide. And in preparing for this, I sort of asked everyone, what are some of our strengths? And definitely the fact that there is this long-standing core of people that have been involved from the very, very early days. Like I said, I've been since 2017, and I still feel like I'm kind of one of the newer members of the core group. Just amazing experience. Really, the hard foundational work was done in the early days to really create this kind of inclusive and democratic system, so that people like me could just kind of walk in and already be able to sort of, oh, there's a protocol for this. Oh, there's a way to do this. Oh, we rotate our crops this way. So I didn't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And so I was able to be one of the people that was able to be welcomed in and then just share my skills. Certainly we feel like we're very, very lucky to have the space that we have to grow our seed, to help it adapt to the climate, and to be able to keep it safe and give it to the community. And also this idea that we have a strong bench, in other words, a large group of folks that can support each other when folks aren't able to lead or be as active. They can step back and other people will take up the slack. So we just feel like we're really fortunate that we have a very strong group with this historical continuity. Next slide. And I just wanted to close by sort of reading this quote of, think small, planting tiny seeds in the small space given you can change the whole world, or at least your view of it. And we certainly feel that way. This picture here is a little packet of seeds brought to us about a year ago from a lady, Lena, in Sweden. And who knows, she might be part of this. Lena, I hope you are. She brought us a packet of pea seeds, dry pea seeds, and they did really well. So we have a whole jar to give to our community this year. And I hope that the Shasta daisies and the Hopi black dye sunflowers that we gave you flourished in southern Sweden. So we're planting small, but we're building bridges across the world. Next slide. And come visit us in Sebastopol. Come see us in person or online. And Lexi, if you could put that into the chat for everyone, that would be awesome. So again, I just want to thank everyone who has supported me in doing this presentation. I want to thank all of you for showing up and all of us for doing this work, because it's what is healing the world. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was really enlightening. I'm appreciative of your time. Janet, do you have the ability to share your screen to show your slides?
You see, you can see my my
Yes,
slides?
yes, we can. Give me
Okay.
just a moment. Let me introduce you.
Yeah.
Janet Pasquier loved working in the garden from an early age. In 2012, she was introduced to permaculture and got her PDC. For the past 10 years, she's developed her own business with her partner, Tina Setsma. Hopefully I said that right. You can correct me if I didn't. And in 2015, they founded the Seed Library. They discovered libraries as great places to house seed collections and collaborate. They have been growing fast for the past 2 to 3 years. Libraries and individuals alike now have seeds to lend in more than 60 locations throughout the Netherlands. Janet, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. So I start my presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, here I am. Hi, everybody. I will tell something about our seed library in the Netherlands and how we developed it during the last 7 years. On the left, you see our logo with the name Zadenbibliotheek Nederland. And in the middle, you see a picture of the seed bags with a label with our logo. And on the right, it's me. I will give you some context. Kunnen we dit een beetje aan de kant hebben? Denk je? The Netherlands is a small country on the northern sea coast, and you look at the arrow on the map. You see where it's on the map. The Netherlands is part of the European Union, and it's in square meters. It's bigger than West Virginia, but smaller than South Carolina. So you have an idea how big how small our country is. The capital is Amsterdam, with a big international airport, Schiphol. Maybe some of the listeners or the viewers have landed there. Agriculture is a quite an important pillar of our economy, and farmers produce here mostly monoculture, and less than 1% of the population, I guess, have the skills and the knowledge to grow their own food. But luckily, times are changing. More and more people are getting interest in how to grow your own food, and they need seeds for that. And that's our what we are spreading around the corner with our libraries. Here you see, even a little bit there. Here you see how it started. Somebody asked me, do you have an empty, and I have an empty store, can you help me to fill it? And that was my chance to start the Seed Library. And here it's 2015, how you see. It's in the north of the Netherlands where we have found our place. And here you see it's now 2 years later. We were more and more successful, and we decided to formalize some things. And we established 2 important values. And we decided seeds for free for everybody and 100% confidence. No control, no administration whatsoever. So everybody who came to a place where we checked out our seeds could take it home and to the gardens, just paying nothing. So this was very important for our library. En even kijken. Next. Oh, here you see how people, in return for the seeds, people fill in a small form on our website and they become member of our organization, the Seed Library, the Netherlands. And in the return, they bring the seeds of the nicest plant they've grown in the garden from the seeds they checked out. And they bring a part of the crop they had, bring them back. And you see it, then they bring it in all kind of envelopes and packages. And so we get the seeds back to for the next season. And on the left, you see the baskets where we put the little bags with the labels on, and there can people on 60, 70 places in the whole the Netherlands, they can borrow and check out the seeds. And here, this is a picture of local volunteers, and the local libraries are critical for the success of our seed libraries. On the left, on the right, you see people filling the bags and signing the labels, so everybody knows what kind of seeds are in the bags and where they come from. And on the left, you see the seed stands filled with the seed bags. And this is in a library where we just launched a new and opened a new location. Excuse for my English. On our website, Zadenbibliotheek Nederland, we have big location maps, and every dot is a spot with a seed library. And so you see here, this is just a part of the Netherlands, how the seeds are spreading all over. We started in Friesland, here in the orange area. And now you see, like a virus, everything is covered up with all kinds of spots. And our members and the people who are interested in checking out seeds can go to the location map and see where they find the nearest seed library and get the information when the library is open. Our seed library is since a few years a foundation with a board, and except me, here you see my 4 colleagues and board members. Since 2022, we are with 5 because there's a lot of work to do, and everything we do is unpaid. On the left, you see here our home page of the website. And on the website, there is a lot of information about the Seed Library, how we work, and how they new locations can join us. And a lot of information about the seeds they can check out in the libraries. We put a lot of effort in the connection with the people and our members on the website, and every month we spread a newspaper with all kind of new information. By example, when the season of the seeds are opening again, where new locations are opening, but also we share their knowledge about harvesting and cleaning the seeds they can bring in again for the next season. Now, you asked me what is the biggest success, and that is without doubt our children's book. We published in 2022 a children's book with a story about our permanent culture garden, and about with the story about the Seed Library and how it developed and what the Seed Library is. It's made by our local people, and with the help of a big donation of a very big fan of somebody who loves the work we do. And the picture on the pictures, we show you the launch in our local library. And in this year, libraries all over the Netherlands children can borrow this book. So this is my story so far, to tell you something about our organization and how we spread our seeds all over the Netherlands. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. That was really intriguing. I love the children's book idea. I can't wait to ask questions about that at the end in the chat.
Okay.
If you would like to stop sharing your screen, that will give us the opportunity to move on to our next presenter, who is Destiny Rivera, I'm sorry, I apologize, Rivera. Destiny currently serves as an Access and Information Services Librarian at Foothill College in Los Altos Hills, California. She's a librarian like me. She seeks to center her practice of librarianship on anti-racist, queer, and decolonial pedagogies.
Okay.
Destiny helped co-found the Ocean Beach Seed Library and the Seed Library at El Centro Cultural de la Raza in San Diego. Destiny has a rooted passion for social environmental justice and serves on the American Library Association Sustainability Committee and the Sustainable California Libraries Advisory Group. Destiny currently serves as the program's chair of the Diversity in Academic Libraries Interest Group. Destiny, do you have the ability to share your screen?
Would it be able to ask you to share it like, because I think it's on the same one that Carol's was on?
It is not on the one Carol's is on. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me escape and I should be able to do that. So give me just a second. Let me flip-flop.
I can definitely screen share here too if needed.
Let's take a look. Let me share. That's the end of that one. Can y'all see that? Okay, let's go forward. This is where we're starting?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay, wonderful.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Tina, for the introduction, and nice to meet you all, or thank you for attending our session today. We really look forward to getting to your questions. I know that's probably why you're here, is to ask. You probably have some burning questions, especially if you're just kind of starting establishing a seed library. So like Tina mentioned, my name is Destiny Rivera. I'm currently an academic services librarian. So I work in an academic community college library. But this experience is from my time at San Diego Public Library. So I was a public librarian who then transitioned to academic libraries. So this the seed library that I helped establish was the Ocean Beach Seed Library, and It's part of the San Diego Public Library system, which was 34, it had 34 branches within the public library system. So yeah, this was just, it was, now it's about to celebrate its 4th year. And unfortunately, I haven't been involved in its, upkeep this past year as I've moved to Northern California. So it's kind of a reflection on my time at San Diego Public Library. And I'm still in close contact with the people, the volunteers who are managing it, and the point person of the project now. So yeah, this is our display area. You see on the left-hand side, so it was really a local effort, and we tried to get a lot of partners involved. So the Ocean Beach Seed Library banner or title was actually painted by a local artist in our community, and his signs were very well known around our small town. So this was like an easily recognizable sign to most people in the Ocean Beach area. So this is a repurposed card catalog. It was actually missing a top. And I reached out to some friends who are local woodworkers, and they were able to contribute this like really beautiful local wood cover to, kind of help establish our seed library. So just to mention some, recognizable collaborations, it can actually just be in the display itself. Okay, so next slide, please. This is just a little picture of our grand opening. So like I said, it's about to celebrate its fourth year anniversary. So this was a really great time to, collaborate and also celebrate its opening. So if you're considering starting a seed library, I definitely recommend, at least that's what we did, was we, coordinated a grand opening celebration. It's just a really great time to gather people together and kind of launch the seed library into existence. We did have a kind of a soft launch of about 6 months prior. And then in that time, we had a lot of opportunities to kind of build our networks and create more of a community event. And all of this food was actually donated from restaurants around our town. And one of our partnerships that I was most proud of is in Ocean Beach, there's the Organic Food Co-op, and they're actually the largest employer in this small town. And they were so excited to partner with us. And so they donated a large portion of all of this food, as well as various funding that came kind of later in the process. So next slide, please. Something that I really tried to center in the programming work that I did were Indigenous voices and Indigenous stories. So in addition to our native plant collection, we did some collection development. So in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see Cooking the Native Way, which is an amazing native foods cookbook established by the Chia Cafe Collective. So it says here, there are Southern California Indigenous sustenance. Well, that was a topic that or a presentation that they did. But this was just we housed the native Salvia columbaria. So the native chia seed, we housed that in our collection. And then we also tried to represent that seed through our collection development materials. So next slide, please. Another way is that our programs went out into the community. So we partnered with a local community garden and the Master Gardener Association in our area. And we actually took our library program into the community garden. So yeah, the Park and Rec department actually loaned us these chairs, and then we partnered with the Master Gardeners to host this free event to our community. And then we also hosted a book talk about there's this title, Kumeyaay Ethnobotany, and we were able to ask the author to give us a presentation, which was phenomenal. Next slide, please. We also developed a reading guide through the San Diego Public Library. So this is really just a kind of informal collection of books about decolonized diets and yeah, particularly indigenous food ways. So next slide, please. And then we also developed we have this little portable seed library on the left here that we were able to take to local community farmers markets and other cultural events. So on the right here, we have a predominantly Latin American community called Barrio Logan in San Diego. And we were able to kind of support, we partnered with another organization to promote not only seed libraries, but I guess sustainable agriculture. So next slide, please. And then actually right before leaving San Diego, I was working with, there was a small cohort of us that were kind of helping with the inception phase of the seed library at El Centro, which is a community resource center. So it was also a very collaborative process. And I know that it's still kind of in its phase of development, but the reason I wanted to mention them was in the next slide, there's a mission statement. And if we could go ahead and transition to that next slide, please. I just thought that this was really important to highlight, is maybe something to consider when you're establishing your seed library, that you know, as Janet mentioned, the values piece, I think that that's something that also in our keynote presentation, in terms of like, we want to make sure that we're not appropriating cultural knowledge, and to make sure that we're giving recognition where it's due. So this was a really beautiful mission statement that was established by a colleague of mine, and just really giving highlight to the systems of exploitation that we experience, as well as paying homage to the legacy of the seed. So next slide, please. So, and something I wanted to mention, not to scare people off, but my time with the San Diego Public Library, this was actually a perfect example of I think a worthy project that then became exploited. So the small seed library that I was a part of, we did adopt the Safe Seed Pledge, and we were partnered with the Organic Food Co-op. That was really important and essential to me. And that's the only reason why I wanted to establish this, was to promote organic and healthy living. One of the reasons. And the public library system that I worked on, I think they had good intentions. They were like, oh, people are loving the seed library. Let's mega size it and let's establish this kind of system wide. They did it without having proper seed literacy and without really connecting to the values of the project. So we see here that once the larger system got a hold of it, they actually got donations unknowingly from Syngenta seeds, which is just such a antithesis of the mission of why it was started. And I'm sure you are aware of Syngenta seeds, and we see here that, you know, there's these pesticide covered seeds on the right. So they have this orange color on it that is a fungicide or pesticide. And this was how the public library kind of took hold of the project. And I fought it kind of tooth and nail. I was talking to the administrators. And this was like a really scary kind of monster that the project became right before I was leaving. So this is definitely a word of caution. And if we could just hop to the next slide, please. I would just end with, you know, if you're starting your project, definitely commit to organic and non-GMO seeds and adopt the Safe Seed Pledge, and emphasize seed literacy within your projects going forward. So yeah, if we want to talk more about that, we can, but that was kind of, you know, a worst case scenario of what a seed library ended up sort of adopting in the process. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Destiny. That is a little horrifying to think that, you know, in an effort to make it available to everybody, they didn't do their due diligence. I'm sorry that that happened. I am just going to run through our closing slides now so that during the question and answer, if somebody needs to drop off, they've had their questions answered, they can certainly move on to another topic. So I'm just going to briefly go through these. Sorry, somehow I got muted in there. I apologize. Hopefully you heard my spiel there. Lexi, if you have questions for us in the chat that you'd like to share, thank you to all of our speakers.
I do. I'm going to scroll through. So I can read the questions and then the presenters can decide who wants to answer, or I can also let you know who was presenting when the question was asked. All right, just give me a minute as I scroll through. We have some really good questions.
And I'm thinking if participants want to raise their hand, I can unmute them from my end.
Excellent. So one question that was asked during Carol's presentation: what are the benefits of establishing nonprofit organization status for a seed library? Does it make it easier to accept monetary donations? Please advise.
Okay, yeah, I can just sort of address just from our experience. I think part of it, and again, I'm just speaking from my experience within it, and it could be a larger answer, but my understanding is that we want to focus on the job of growing the plants, saving the seeds, and distributing the seeds. We don't want to be sort of in the business of doing things. And so we're just totally a nonprofit, and in fact, the actual money aspects are run by another organization. So we have sort of like an umbrella organization that handles our finances, because we want to keep it really focused on the work of distributing the seeds. So we're able to get donations and grants, and then we just channel it all to our sort of sponsor organization. I don't know if that really answers the question or not, but I don't know if it makes it easier, but it certainly makes it easier from our standpoint, so that we're not having to dedicate a lot of energy to all that sort of financial bookkeeping.
It ties in. Someone had responded, you might also want to look into fiscal sponsorship if there's an established nonprofit who might adopt your program. Sounds similar to what you were mentioning. All right, then we have a question from Carrie. This is my first year starting a seed library. I have an abundance of seeds. Is it better to have a few packets of a lot of different varieties, or a lot of packets of fewer varieties? Who would like to answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's my personal opinion of just like you just have to kind of work with what you have. So if you have 1,000 lettuce seeds, like if that's what you're starting with, I don't think that there's any problem with working with that. But obviously, like variety is the spice of life. So yeah, I think just working with what you have.
Okay, the next one is how often
Lexi, before you move on to that, I apologize as moderator to jump in, but I just want to add something to the question that was asked. We are in our second season of our seed library. The first season we had 212 varieties that were donated. This year we have 819. And let me tell you, when you are the person who's creating each and every label, time is a virtue. So ask yourself, is it easier to create 200 labels for 2,000 seeds, or do you have the time to be able to create a separate label for each of those variety types? So when you're asking companies to donate seeds, keep in mind some will donate individual packs of a lot of varieties, and then the onus is on you to kind of divide those up and distribute them. Or do you want to get big donations of large packs? It's a lot easier. I'm off my soapbox. My 2 cents are done.
Tina, I have to laugh. I'm a seed librarian at a Montessori school in Denver. And it was also similar that we had so many different varieties, and we decided that we would rather reduce the number and just have a larger quantity of a smaller number of varieties. The labeling is definitely an issue. All right, so here's one. How often do seeds need to be replaced? I bought some last year to start our library off, but how long can I hold on to them before I have to get rid of them? We keep them in small brown envelopes that are sealed.
And I think Janet wanted to speak to the prior question.
Janet, if you want to unmute yourself, we can't hear you. Perfect.
Yes, we have in say 70 places in the Netherlands all kinds of seed libraries, and it's our goal to gather from the people in the surroundings the seeds which are suitable at the soil they have there. So you get every local library has their own variety on vegetables, flowers, and that's for us it's a very important goal to create. We have all kinds of varieties of soil here. We have clay, we have sandy soils, and we have peak soils. So the idea is that you have the seeds which with the genetic variety suitable for the soil in that specific region. And but in every library, it's nice to have, say, about between the 40 or 60 different varieties of seeds, because then it's interesting for everybody to come there and to check out with the seeds you like. So that was my answer to the question from do you want a lot of the same or a bit of very much? But we never had 800 varieties somewhere. So
Okay.
This is what I have to say on that question.
And once the labels are in the computer, you only need to change the year of getting where you took the crop.
Okay, so going back to that other question, Lexi, that you had about how long to keep the seeds. I think it, again, from my experience, it has to do with what type of crop it is and how long the viability is. For example, I know that onions and leeks don't last very long. They need to be distributed within a year or two. Otherwise, you're going to have a real drop off in terms of your germination rate. Whereas other crops like certain dry beans and other things can last for several years. So you don't want to have anything that's, more than 4 or 5 years old, because your germination rates are probably not going to be that good, but you definitely want to, it's kind of crop specific, in other words. And keeping things in packets, you might also want to think about keeping those packets within jars if you're worried about it, so it's that temperature and moisture control that you really want to look at.
So Carol, we had someone ask if you could post a link to the online order form. I put a link to communityseedexchange.org. Do you have?
We're not doing that anymore.
Okay.
So that was pandemic specific. And in fact, I think Laurel even gave a presentation at last year's Seed Summit about it. So it was just in a real response to the pandemic. So I'm sorry to whoever is asking, but they're just going to have to come and visit us in person or come to one of our local libraries or one of our local events.
Okay. The next question is international seed trading legal?
I don't know. So I hope I didn't get in trouble talking about the seeds that we got.
Okay. So it sounds like I don't know. Is it okay if I go on to the next question? Because we have quite a few. Is that okay? Okay. So we have, how can you ensure that donated seed is free of disease, invasives, weeds, or other treatment or contaminants?
I can say something about that. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay. You can't. We can't. So what we do is that we try to educate people, and we explain we can't, because we get all kind of donations from all kind of people. And you saw on the picture of my presentation in all kind of envelopes and things. So what we do on the website, we have an item that we explain that we can't guarantee that. But what we also do is we explain people how you can, how seeds have to look. And so we try to educate people, bring them closer to the subject, to understand this kind of subject, that they know what they get to their houses and to their gardens, what the kind of quality it is. It's different than when you buy it from the seed companies. There's a big difference. And that's what we explain, and that's it.
And you can do just like a quick inspection too, like as like looking for little pest nibbles on the seeds. I think I've noticed little like crumbs or even the start of mold on certain seeds. So if you wanted, you could just do a quick eyeball kind of scan over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is probably important to do.
Yeah, I think that's a part of the education for the people who are putting the seeds in the small envelopes. Then somebody is walking around and is looking and smelling but that's what we can do, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to tag on to what Janet was saying about educating people, and an important thing, of course, is the population size. So hopefully trying to encourage people to save seeds from more than just one plant, so that maybe they had, at least a half a dozen or or so plants, and also educating them to save seeds, not just at the very end of the season, but maybe, you know, when it's really abundant and really strong, you know. So again, it's that education that is that's crucial.
And awareness also is very, so our seed library is not only about growing your own food and checking out seeds, but it's all also to plant in the community the awareness about what seeds are and how they look like, and the whole story behind the seeds. And when you have them in your hands and you talk with your neighbor or with a seed librarian or with a volunteer, it's becoming between the ears and in our hearts. So that's an important function of our whole seed library system. Yeah, you see, I love it. Thank you, Destiny.
All right, that was great. Let's see another. Oh, I think this is for Destiny. Were you able to bring the portable seed library to the markets without being charged a vendor fee since there was no profit? How did you all approach that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we had different, as a San Diego City partner, or you know, as a public library, we were already we were part of like the Main Street Association, so we were given a table. So I'd imagine as a nonprofit or separate organization, yeah, you might have to pay that vendor fee unless you can partner with someone who's already has a spot. But yeah, I think that was a privilege of being like a city partner.
Okay, how did you find the old card catalog?
That was it was donated by a community member. I think they thought it would fit the bill, so we upgraded to like a briefcase, a really old vintage style briefcase that they were both donations.
All right. And we have someone asking, what are safe companies to order seeds from?
To companies that have adopted the Safe Seed Pledge, I think it's,
yeah. And someone had written Organic Seed Alliance probably has a map or list.
Right. I know in San Diego, the San Diego Seed Company was they were certified organic, but and then beyond organic as well. So I think if you live in a small town, getting to know who your seed companies are and exploring their values, I think that's a good place to start. But there are a lot of organic seed companies in California where I am. But yeah, does anyone have any other ideas on how they source their seeds?
Well, again, I just want to, you know, sort of tag on to the idea that you want to try to maybe get seeds from people who are in as close a geographic area as you are, so that the seeds are more climate adapted. You know, I know that when we order seeds, we try to source them from, you know, certainly from California or maybe from Oregon, so that it's sort of in our geographical area, basically. And I also agree with what Destiny was saying about researching the values and really looking deeply into it. I know that there's a lot of sort of greenwashing that can take place. So you really have to be careful about what they actually say and what they actually mean. So smaller companies might be a more reliable bet.
Yeah, and actually, if I can tag on to that, I think that's how that whole San Diego fiasco happened, where it ended up being like Rogers Syngenta seeds. And it was actually under the umbrella of another organization, which I won't name. Their website was very promoting organic living and lifestyle. So those seeds were acquired under the umbrella of another organization. So yeah, I think just doing that research and then seeing what the end product of that actually is too.
All right, Destiny, we have another question for you. We have a small seed library, and our finding the hardest part is getting donations of seeds back. Plenty of folks borrow our free seeds, but with a limited budget, is getting costly to get our drawers refilled. Any tips on how to best motivate those that borrow to remember to return some seeds later to pay it forward? Or did you keep the San Diego Seed Library going purely through donations from businesses or grants?
Right. And I'm sure this is something we can all answer. But to start, I think that the education piece, because it's not easy for, especially if they're new gardeners, like when they're checking out seeds, it's not common knowledge that you know how to grow plants and to save seeds. So it is a big undertaking. So I would say promoting educational classes about how to save seeds, how to vegetable gardening 101 classes, I think is a really worthy start. And one of the biggest ways that we got seeds was through partnerships with community farms around the area. So we partnered with a few. There was one called Wild Willow Farm, which was phenomenal, and they would, bring us jars of beans and lettuce seeds. And so if you're able to partner with community gardens and ask them if maybe they want to start a seed garden in like have a plot dedicated for seed gardening, that would be one option. And it's like free seed. So yeah, I guess not purchasing them. We were able to get a budget for seed purchases. So we actually didn't necessarily rely on seed donations.
So yeah, and in our situation, obviously we grow most of ours, so we have control, but something that we do, you saw on the last class of the year that we do in October is the garlic class. And we're stewarding a whole collection of different garlics from a local grower that had collected many different varieties. And so we're in the process of doing that. So when we give people garlic in the fall, we give them a bag with like 9 cloves to grow 9 heads of garlic, and we ask them to bring back 2 or 3 of the best heads. So again, it's that notion of kind of, can you share back? And we're starting to get more and more of the garlic returned to us. I know it is hard with the seeds. And again, education is hugely important. I think that's really the key. I mean, as everyone's been saying, just really increase the awareness in your community.
This year we got a very big donation of an organic seed seller and they were selling little presents for all kinds of wedding or variety of feasts. And they called us because the seeds were nearly overdated. So end 2022. But nothing wrong with the seeds, because the dates they take, it's very sure. They will be for at least a year with very strong, hoe zeg je dat? Powerful. They will get plants out of it very good. So that was for us a very nice source to have. We collected a lot of seeds and we could spread it about the whole of the Netherlands for all our seed libraries. So maybe that's an idea that when you have organic seed growers, on the end of the date, you can at least for another year use the seeds in your library. It's good quality.
Okay, so I'm just continuing to go through the list of questions. I apologize if we're kind of jumping back and forth. I'm going question by question. I realize sometimes we may be jumping back and forth on topics. We have one. Are there any seed libraries that operate with one paid staff member that is not attached to a public library? Our public library's funding is getting slashed, sad day. So not a good time to pitch this idea here, but we have a good small community of seed growers already. Any other models beyond a larger organization adopting you?
I guess I can speak to this as like a public librarian. So we had a friends group, which is pretty common in public libraries, where they're basically the nonprofit branch of the public library. So we had the Friends of the Ocean Beach Library, which was a nonprofit. And actually after I left, they were the ones who we got an annual budget through, and they've now taken over like the volunteer roles. But I can't speak specifically to the paid, because they're all volunteers. And we basically, I guess as a public library staff, it just became kind of an integrated part of our workflow. So, as well as like managing the circulation desk and checking books in and out and helping people on the computers and doing research questions. Another subset of our job was like maintaining the seed library. So I wonder if there's a way to embed it into an already established library position. Even if it's just a half an hour a day where you're kind of maintaining the seed library, that might be a way to just kind of fold it into the work duties. Although I know that can involve like different, everyone has a job contract. So yeah, I don't have any advice necessarily on that, unless you can fold it into an already established position.
Is it okay to move to the next question?
Mhm.
Okay. How many seeds per envelope?
Well, once again, it kind of depends on the crop, so we've tried to standardize a few things. So for example, when we're giving out pea seeds that we're going to be giving out soon for sort of snow peas and fresh pea planting soon, like maybe 15 peas in an envelope. If it's something like lettuce, you only need like a quarter teaspoon. If it's some kind of a brassica, you need just like a quarter teaspoon. Certain things, it really depends on the variety. You don't want to give people too much, because it's amazing, as we know, how abundant seeds are, and especially if you have a good source of seeds, you've got great viability. So you just want to give them enough to grow a good crop.
I have to say, I did really overthink that when we were first starting. I was like, how many seeds? Like, should it be 10 or 4? And then towards the end, I was just like, just do a small pinch. If there's smaller seeds, a small pinch. So if anyone's out there like me who is overthinking everything, like, I think just like a small pinch, and then like Carol said, enough to grow, a few viable crops.
We communicate that the seeds you check out is just mostly just a few. And it's for the starting gardener, it's to try, can I grow this food? And for the skilled gardener, we try to motivate them to check out seeds from plants they don't know. So it's to know a new kind of vegetable. And we explain when you want to have really a good crop, then that's not really the function of our seed library. It's for the early gardeners to try to learn, and for the skilled gardeners, it's to
experience.
yeah, to expand your experience and to grow new food and to learn new tastes from the vegetables. And when you have a good crop of carrots, then you buy from the seed companies. They are that's then, or you can also grow your few seeds, and for next year you have more, and next year you have more, and so then you can gather in the years to come for the crops for the years the years after the first years. That's how we explain it in our website and in the newsletters.
So I can add to this, in our school seed library, it's self-serve, and the largest measuring spoon that we have is a quarter teaspoon. It's quarter teaspoon and smaller. And we let people know that generally one seed equals one plant. That helps people keep in mind rather than scooping out a lot of seeds at once. We had talked about how to address pests in seeds. What about potential invasive species?
That's a problem. I don't have an answer. You can't recognize if you have seeds or little seeds with that eigenschap.
Yeah, qualities.
Quality. We don't spread, we don't have in our collection the plants which are here in the Netherlands invasive. So we have several varieties which people are anxious about, and they don't want to have them. Sometimes they are in the donation box, and then those we take out. But when you have seeds from a sort,
A species.
a species you want to, you can't see the very little weeds. And is it clear? A little bit difficult to explain. We never can guarantee that you don't get weeds with the seed you check out. That's all in the game.
We had a few interesting examples at in San Diego with nasturtiums, which are, people just love that, and they grow in their gardens, and they're really beautiful common plants, but apparently invasive. So people would donate like their favorite nasturtium plants, and like very proudly. And it took me a while it was actually told to me that, oh, like actually these are invasive in, I don't know if it's just San Diego or California, but so those were something I kind of like deselected, which means that I just held them in my shelf area and didn't put them in the collection itself, just because I wasn't sure what to do with it. Another kind of question, and I think that it's worth knowing what are potentially problematic seeds. The tropical milkweed versus the native milkweed, that was kind of a question I was having, because the tropical, it keeps monarchs or butterflies in one spot because they just feast all the time on it and they love it, and then they stop migrating. So with the native milkweed, it's just like a temporary, I am not an expert on this, but like they only have a chance to eat in a certain time frame or season, and then it encourages their migration. So, but we also got a lot of tropical milkweed donations. So they were questionable. I was like, is it okay to keep circulating it? Is it doing a disservice to the environment and the butterfly patterns? So I just held them in my back shelf, and they were to be determined.
Is it okay if I move on? Okay. I do want to say that we have just 10 minutes left, and there are a ton of there's a lot of really good information in the chat. So please do make sure that you are able to scroll through and get some links and advice and recommendations. There's one question. Does anyone use a pre-cut rubber stamp for envelopes? If so, where is it available? Seems much easier than printing labels.
Yeah, we used a pre-printed rubber stamp, and it was just at like rubberstampchamp.com. But so I don't know if I recommend them or not. That's just who we use. They were really affordable. And it seemed effective. Although printing it, like having the computer labels, also seems like it seems maybe a more seamless option.
Okay, the next one. Is there a good resource to find out about the legal requirements for seed libraries in your particular state? And there's been a fair amount of chat related to this about state-specific requirements.
That was one of those sticking points when first starting it. Was I tried to do so much research. I got really discouraged because people were saying, basically like I don't know, like the government showed up at their doorstep telling them to close their seed library. But there are those stories where there are some legal implications. I chose to proceed despite that. And I think there's the Open Seed Initiative, or recognizing seeds as a global common, and that we should have the right to circulate seeds. So there is some legislation around viewing seeds as a public good and a global common. So I chose to embrace that ethos that seeds should be freely circulated, especially if they're locally sourced and cross-pollinated.
I'm going to break in here. If you really need to know a definitive answer, you have to start with your state Department of Agriculture. And good luck getting an answer from them.
Right. Thank you, Diana.
All right. What types of grant opportunities are there to support a local seed library?
I will chime in here in Illinois. We actually have the advantage that Lowe's Home Improvement Store actually offers a grant that goes specifically for community gardens and seed libraries. So those of you who have a Lowe's in your community, I'd ask them.
Also, I know that certain Rotary clubs, I know that we've gotten some money from the Rotary clubs, and we've gotten money from our local Grange, our local Grange that supports agriculture. So again, it's going to be specific to your local area.
Okay. What are some of the best websites to learn more about organic seed harvesting? And maybe this is something, if people would like to, if they have a response to this, they can post in the chat. I do want to be mindful of time. We have 6 minutes left, and we have still quite a few, some great questions. Does anyone want to answer that about the organic seed harvesting websites or references?
I think people should probably just post into the chat what they have would probably be a good resource for us all.
Okay. So the next one, my library received a large monetary gift. What amount of money would you expect to build a seed library from scratch? And should it be named for the benefactor?
Can you repeat the first part of that question?
My library received a large monetary gift. What amount of money would you expect to use to build a seed library from scratch? And should it be named for the benefactor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm under the sentiment that it should be named to represent the community, rather than a sole donor, but I guess that's I don't know, I guess that's a personal decision that you get to make, but I think it should represent the community that it's in. I started the Ocean Beach Seed Library with a $250 budget, and then we later were able to operate it with less than $1,000. I think one of the advantages of seed libraries is that they're scalable and that they're low cost, high impact is how I came to know them. So it's nice that there's we did get more funding over time to, you know, kind of establish a tool lending library and certain collection development. So reference books and yeah, there's a lot of good, like we got a grant from a community garden for children's programming. So there's a lot of good ways to use funding, but in terms of startup costs, I think that, I mean, we did it for about $250.
Yeah, and I would say that, you know, just even with our organization, which is really well established, and, you know, we only spent like around $1,000 last year on the library costs, and most of that was on packets and for all the printing of labels. So the costs don't have to be huge. I agree with Destiny. You can, and certainly in our situation, you start very small and you can build it out.
And I saw someone ask how to thank donors, which is, I think somehow kind of merged with that, you know, how do you appreciate the donations that you received? And we did it in like public messaging, so social media post, and also we did monthly workshops. So at the beginning of each of those workshops, we would kind of thank our donors and then also like solicit more donations or feedback and partnerships.
Okay, we do have I've been scrolling through the chat and there are some really great references. I want to mention that. So we have one person who wrote, you can save the chat yourself. This is new on Zoom, I think. Under the chat, there's 3 dots. Click on that, then click on Save Chat. Then above where you type, you'll see Show in Folder. Click that, and then you have the file and you can move it where you want. There are references here for suggestions on where to look for cabinets for seed libraries, suggestions for growing seeds out, for figuring out the category if seeds are easy, medium, or hard to save. So I think as we're getting really close to the end of this session, there's a lot of really good information here in the chat. All right. Let's see, we have one new message. Okay, so people are saving the chat. I'm still scrolling through, trying to see if there's anything that I missed.
Lexi, while you do that, I'm just going to add, I apologize that somehow I wound up muting myself. For those of you, if you saw the slide about the survey, but didn't actually hear my voice about the survey, please take the time to fill that out. Not only is it useful to us to know what people want to hear, what they enjoyed, what they didn't enjoy, but you also have a chance to win seeds. So thank you to Lexi for putting that in the chat for me. Also, thank you to our speakers for presenting this afternoon for this session as well as for others. We are very grateful to have your knowledge and your expertise through all of this. Special thank you to Lexi for trying to keep up with how quickly everything was moving through the chat. She is a champ and she did a wonderful job. And if people are interested in watching the movie, they have the ability to stream that through February 14th. It's an extra $10 donation. The link is in where you registered for the other sessions. Sorry, you saw my slides but didn't hear me. Now you get to hear me, but thank you to everybody. I know we all have other sessions to participate in. Lexi, you did an admirable job for keeping up with the chat. For those of you who had the chance to save it, there is some very valuable information in there. And to our speakers, thank you so very much.
especially Janet, thank you for participating from so far away.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
I just want to let people know, I just threw up a ton on the chat. So links for all the things that Tina had mentioned. So please feel free to